There's a kind of sound you don't forget. Not an explosion, not a siren. A child's voice asking a question you can't answer.
حبيبتي والله لو بإيدي رأيكي.
Her name was Hind, and in that call you can hear something no headline can carry: fear, hope, and the simple need for someone to arrive. Today is about that space between I'm here and I can't reach you, and the word that sometimes lives there, ajaz, meaning helplessness. Hello everyone and welcome to Tell Me About Palestine podcast. I'm Tala Murrar. This episode is not easy. It's necessary. We often measure war in what we can see: rubble, displacement, hunger. But the psychological impact, the invisible wounds, have shaped people for decades. Today we're digging deeper into what gets missed, ignored, or flattened by the news. Our guest, Nisreen Qawas, is a psychologist with the Palestine Red Crescent Society, working in mental health and psychosocial support in crisis settings. She was directly involved in the emergency response connected to Hind Rajab's call. Nisreen, thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you for having me.
Before we go to that day, I would like you to bring us into your normal routine. When people hear psychologist and humanitarian work, they imagine calm rooms, gentle conversations. But what does your reality actually look like?
It's far away from reality in Palestine. It's not the cozy room of the psychotherapist being with the client and having an individual therapy session or a group session. In Palestine, what we are able to do is the community approach. So our work is all in the community. We can be in a tent, in a school, in a playground, in a house with caregivers, with children. And of course, Palestine Red Crescent Society alone in West Bank have 34 branches and sub-branches. We also deliver our work from there, but primarily we go to where people are. We go to villages near settlement, near the apprehended wall, red zones, all those areas that are difficult for any other humanitarian organization to reach as Red Crescent Society. That was before the 7th of October, by the way. After the 7th of October 2023, things became much harder to reach places where should we reach. Not even the psychological or the social worker or specialist, but also the ambulances are getting stopped, denied access to reach to where they should be in seconds.
You've mentioned that day really shaped the way you do your work. Can you walk us through what happened and how it affected you or how it stayed with you?
The first call came to the emergency room by the uncle of Hind Rajab using a German number. At the time, calls were blocked from Gaza to 101 in Gaza and in the West Bank even. The family of Hind Rajab reached the uncle and asked him to call us at the headquarters operation room. When he called us, it was already 2 hours for him and her family out in the car with nobody knowing anything about them. 2:30, he gave us the number, he gave us the contact, and my colleague, a volunteer, Omar Alqam, called the number directly, and that was Layan answering. In less than 1 minute, Omar was still asking her, "Who are you? Where you are? Can you hear me?" 15 bullets entered her body. She died on the phone while Omar was hearing her screaming.
الو
الو مرحبا عمو.
انتوا مش عايزين تدخوا علينا.
الو مرحبا.
ايوه تدخوا علينا. الدبابه جنبي.
انتوا متخبيين؟
في السياره احنا جنبينا الدبابه.
انتوا جوا السيارة؟ الو.
Nobody have been ever ready for such a moment. As much as the operation room personnel, are trained on real life situation, but hearing a teenager screaming to death on the phone seconds after getting the phone call is a moment nobody will forget. After that, Omar tried to call once, twice, three times, and he was calling until a tiny voice, barely heard, replied saying, "Hello." And Omar was asking her, "Where's the other girl? It's not you who answered the phone." And this from where the reply to the emergency started. 1 hour into that, I was called up to the operation room at 3:30 to give psychological first aid to Rana, actually, to my colleague, because they thought Hind was killed. Rana, who was with her and who recited Quran with her, as you all heard through the media and maybe if you had watched the film. While I was with Rana, comforting her, offering psychological first aid, Omar was shouting from the operation room, "Come, come, Hind is not killed." And we ran to the operation room.
ونقرأ قرآن وأدعي شوي، شو رأيك؟ طيب نحكي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم. برافو عليكي، هيك حافظة.
Immediately, Mahdi Jamal, who was at the time the director of the operation room, started trying to get the approval for the ambulances to go and reach her. We know the location. We have pyramids in Gaza near that place, only 6 minutes away from her, and they can reach. But this is not allowed. We have to do coordination with the International Red Crescent Society, who would do the coordination with the Israelis, the occupation, and when they take the approval from the occupation, they will call us back and they will allow us to move. This process took 3 hours. At 6 p.m., we thought we got the approval. I'm saying all of this because sometimes I feel guilty that from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I was promising her that the ambulance is near her and it's a matter of minutes that they will come and rescue her because this is the norm. We got the green light. I've kept promising. The occupation is searching the car. The road is blocked. They have to turn around to reach you. Any kind of excuse I tried to use to keep her hope up and to assure her that she's in safe hands, which she was not.
People listening might think just comfort her, just say the right word. But in crisis psychology, sometimes the wrong kind of comfort can disconnect someone from survival. Did you feel that tension between being emotionally present and staying operational with Hind?
It was tension. It was high frustration inside the operation room. My colleagues were angry. I've tried and managed to control my voice level, the empathy that should be there, to keep a clear mind with her. I did not want him to lose conscious, and that could happen any second, either for physical reason or for psychological reason, where her nervous system will go to faint to protect herself from what she's seeing and what she's living and what she's suffering.
And after it ended, when you realized the outcome was out of your hands, what did that do to your body? What did it do to you physically?
From being on the phone with her, my body decided to freeze. I was freezing. That's why my voice did not change. That's why my concentration was full 100% with her. I was not aware of the surrounding around me. I was not aware that my voice was being recorded and there are videos while I was doing the intervention. And that freezing in my nervous system continued with me for too long. Colleagues, psychologists around me were advising me all the time to open up, to talk, to take it out of my system. And I all the time refused that, telling them I don't have the time for that now. It's not the right time for mourning. I just opened a black box and put that day into it and locked it. For sure, I know this is not the best way to deal with it, but I was making an informed decision that for me to continue receiving calls, helping people, being able to support my colleagues in Gaza through phone only, being able to give psychological first aid for them. All what happened on that day in that box, and it stayed closed for long time, for more than a year. When a colleague, a doctor from Bethlehem University, forced me in front of the audience to watch a small video about Hind related to a research that we had done at the time to discuss the effect of war on the mental health of paramedics and the people who are giving the psychosocial service. That day was the first day that I expressed my feeling and I cry and cry and cry for the first time.
How did you manage the trauma of not only finding solutions for the emergencies over the phone, but also supporting the humanitarian aid workers who played a big role in helping Hind, Omar and Rana, who handled many overwhelming calls that day?
In our work, all the time, it's either me, Rana, or Omar, or anybody in the operation room. We believe that we should be strong in front of our colleagues in Gaza. We are only witnessing the genocide while our paramedics and our colleagues in Gaza are living it. Putting this thought in front of our eyes, in front of us all the time, give us strength. If they are resilient, if they are continuing their work day and night while living under the extreme situation that they were living under, definitely we can do. This is the cognitive idea that we start from. And then, of course, will be the debriefing all the time, will be the talking, will be offering the tools that should help. So we did the informal psychotherapy with each other, the formal debriefing and the informal socialing and talking about the issue, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, sometimes shouting, sometimes drawing. We don't have the luxury of time to do more on daily basis, but the bits and pieces on everyday basis helped everybody.
And were you able to do that with other calls, not only with Hinds?
I keep saying Hind is the heard voice of the unheard voices of children in Gaza. The loss that her mother found herself in is one incident of too many. We lost on one day 8 of our colleagues at PRCS paramedics, and with them another 5 from the civil defense and a worker from UNICEF. 14 died and one was arrested by the Israelis, losing 15 experts in the field, first responders, doctors, paramedics. I don't think the English language has enough words to describe actually what we were feeling and what we are feeling now. On another call that came to the operation room, I had to deal with a young man from Gaza in his 20s calling the operation room and asking us to go and inform his aunt. Her son was hospitalized in a hospital in Ramallah, that all her family had just been killed in Gaza through a rocket on the building that they were living in. And actually, it's not their home. They were displaced to that home to try and be safe. In that safe haven, all of them, 19 members, her daughters, her 2 sons, her sisters, her parents, died all in one shot, 19 of them. And I had to go and inform this lady who's sitting in a hospital in Ramallah with her paralyzed child that she lost everything.
Looking back, is there anything you would have handled differently, personally or as a team?
I'm not exaggerating if I said no. The coordination with the ICRC was done by the rules. If it's for Omar, the 26-year-old volunteer at the operation room, he would not have gone through all the coordination. He would have asked his friends, his colleagues, the paramedics who went to rescue him, he would have asked them to go without coordination and try to do the Spider-Man work and try to get her. But on real life, with the occupation, definitely this is not the right choice. They would have been killed. At the end, they were killed, but we reached the same result that Hind was not rescued. The paramedics were killed, though we went by the ABC of the operation rule. We worked with all our capacities on the psychological level, I mean, to keep
Mhm.
her calm, to keep her company. We used all the time, 3.5 hours that I was with her on the phone, to fill all this time, I mean, by stories, by future, by past, by present, so that I'll take care of the here and now situation, which is the totally opposite of what should we do while giving psychological first aid. By book, we should help her to be in the moment, to be in the here and now. But in that situation, I was doing everything to move her from the here and now, and the here and now was unbearable for any human being, not for a 5.5 years old child.
So at the end of the day, it isn't only emotional, it's also systems, permissions, routes, blocked movement, delays, everything that turns a rescue into waiting.
Yes, if it was for a 911 call all over the world, it would have been max of 10 minutes and the rescue would have taken place. And this is what Hind knows. This is what she had learned from the TV, from kids' shows, from school awareness. And in her mind, this is what should have happened. You reach me, I call you, you know the direction, you know where I am, you come and take me. It's the human rights rules, it's the people dignity rules all over the world. It's Geneva, the fourth convention that should apply in all the world, not
Yeah.
to the Western only, and a struggle zone, a war area like Palestine is deprived from it because the occupation and their government does not see us as people that should have any human right.
Sadly. You once used the word ajaz with me, and for listeners who don't speak Arabic, it's the feeling of powerlessness with awareness. You understand what's happening and you can't stop it. When did that word become real for you, Nisreen?
After we lost the call with Hind at 7 p.m. on the 29th, from the 7th of October, and the way the governments all over the world dealt with the war, we were feeling the ajaz from our Arabic governments and not standing with the Palestinians. People in Gaza were desperate all the time for anything from the Arab world. They never thought that the Arab government will be that helpless, that ajaz will be from all over the Arab world, the 23 countries. I felt that again when my colleague in Gaza, Hidayah, was killed in front of Al Amal Hospital wearing her uniform, wearing the vest of PRCS. She was targeted. She was killed on the spot because she was helping people. I felt it when Amir was looking from the window of Al Quds Hospital in Gaza and he was targeted and he was killed immediately. We feel it every day. We felt it every day at that time. Even with the extreme weather conditions, we felt it. People were in their tents with all this cold, with all this rain. I don't have enough words to describe how helpless we felt.
Did you face any implications with NGOs that you've collaborated with? Were they able to provide psychological aid to civilians?
Everybody's trying, but everybody's forbidden from entering Gaza. So the NGOs who are already working in Gaza, including our national society, Palestine Red Crescent Society, are doing their best, but they are not enough. There is not enough people, there is not enough tools, and those who are providing the service themselves needs the service to be provided to them.
Mm.
So what is needed is allowing us to enter Gaza and help our people there, help our colleagues, allowing the doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists from the Arab world to enter Gaza and give the support.
You've previously mentioned that the humanitarian aid workers that are helping in Gaza are people from the West. Could you tell us more about that?
They are on missions, and the mission is described by 3 to 6 weeks, and
Hmm.
they don't speak the Arabic language. When you give the service, it should be in the language of the people with the cultural context being taken care of the most.
Since you know what's going on with the people of Gaza right now, what are they facing internally? Is it survivor's guilt, difficulty coping with disasters? Is it emotional numbness?
All what you said and much more. When you are talking about 17,000 orphan children, with the meaning that both parents had died, they are the only survivors are the children. When you talk about a huge number of one survivor from the family, when you are talking about not less than 12,000 people have lost a limb, part of their body. When you are talking about people who lost all their belongings and now living in tents. When you are talking about the basic needs of people is not available. So the healing won't start before the basic needs of families of people is guaranteed. A safe space for them to live in.
And what do you think the word resilience means to them?
The only meaning of resilience in Gaza and in Palestine is to stand up still in front of the enemy. مقاومة. Resilience in our mind and in our terminology is مقاومة. We used to say صمود, but now we are saying مقاومة.
Is there a framework that you used or a mechanism that changed the outcome for a person or a team?
Yes, I'll give you a beautiful example of what we call it the dream bus. Before the genocide, PRCS, Palestine Red Crescent Society, used to have a multi-purpose building, which we call the open studio, where kids from all over Khan Yunis attended this open studio and getting lessons that will empower them and according to their hobbies. So in the open studio, there was a dancing club, there was a computer room, art room, dabke, all those kinds of creative skills building. Of course, during the war, nobody could reach the open studio. Parts of it is demolished now. So what our colleagues in Gaza did is transforming a bus to a mobile open studio. They took all the chairs from it and they made it into a library, into an artwork room, and use it to move from a camp to a camp to entertain kids, to give them quality time, to give them a different sense of the day rather than the bombing and the zinane and the killing around them. This has affected thousands of kids. The ones who are giving the entertainment are psychologists or social workers that use the art to help kids feel better.
I can imagine it must have been a sense of hope for them. There's a recent film titled The Voice of Hind Rajab, a work that doesn't try to recreate everything, but instead centers on what so many people remember most: a voice, a call for help, and the unbearable space between hearing and reaching. It raises a serious question. When real life is already devastating, how do you tell the story with care without turning suffering into spectacle and without losing the truth? To help us unpack this film, I'm joined by Jordanian filmmaker and educator Zaid Bawab. Zaid, Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Tala. Thank you for having me.
When you first watched The Voice of Hind Rajab, what was your first response as a filmmaker? Not about the story itself, but about how it was told.
So, talks about this film has been circulating around months before it was released naturally. And as a filmmaker, I was hearing about this new film that will blur the lines between fiction and documentary in terms of using an incident that actually happened in real life and trying to make a film about it. And the case usually for films like that is that some time passes before you can actually document this incident in film. And for me, I felt like this is a strength on its own. This is an incident that is still talked about. And now you can get another view of it in a time span that is less than usual. The interest would be still there to know more about this incident. Yet at the same time, you can say that the wound is still not fully healed. So you could get a certain response of some people would like jump instantly to watch the film and be like, yes, we want to know more details. Others would be like, no, this is a bit too deep. This is a bit too fresh for me to kind of like see it on the big screen. And honestly speaking, I was more of the people from the second group who were like, am I ready as a spectator? And are we ready as an audience to see this moment documented in this much detail and in nearly real time, at a time where we are still processing all of the brutal footage that we have seen happen in Gaza. So watching that film, I wouldn't say it's an easy watch. And it's as hard as listening to the beautiful social worker Nisreen today talk about the incident. Just as hard it is to remember and see everything that is happening in Gaza every time, and it just doesn't get easier. What this film does, it takes everything and it puts it in front of you on the big screen and film streaming services.
You mentioned how detailed the film was. Could you tell us more about its specific style?
It's certainly a film that deals with a particular time and a particular day. It puts 6 or 7 hours in a film that is 1 hour and a half. The difference between the film duration and the actual duration is not that big. Usually when you watch a film, you would see 4 months or like 5 months or a year or 2 years of a character's life. And you would see it all in 1 hour and a half. But what this film did, it took only 6 or 7 hours and it put it in a film that is 1 hour and a half. What this does is that it intensifies the moment and it explains this moment and shows it to you in much more detail than you would usually see in movies. The takes would be a bit longer. And if we are talking about camera work should also emphasize that feeling and emphasize the internal mindset of the characters. So to everyone that watched the film or still did not see the film, the handheld camera movement is obvious in the film, the long takes, and certainly using the actual recording of Hind Rajab's voice added another layer of blurring the lines between fiction and reality, and it made the film a bit more believable. Now, we're not talking about a film that is based on a real story. It's actually a film that tries to document the story the way it is as much as possible without adding anything that is entertaining or without adding anything that tries to make the film make more money. It's just a filmmaker that actually wanted to document a moment because they want to immortalize a moment that is already immortal.
When a story like this is already in the news, what can documentary storytelling add that news reporting often can't?
Reach. It definitely makes a filmmaker and makes a story reach more people. One of the few things I have seen is an interview with Hind's mother. And I think her answer encapsulates everything that this documentary did. She was like, if this film did not end up getting made, maybe Hind's voice and Hind's story would have been lost and would have been forgotten with many other stories. But what this film did, it immortalized this story and it made it reach more people. And it's made it a topic that people will keep on talking about and going back to, exactly like we're doing today.
What responsibility does a director like yourself carry toward the real people behind the headline? And where do you feel that responsibility begins?
So when it comes to documentary filmmaking or even fiction filmmaking, when you're dealing with real life characters, you need to always be careful not to cross a line as a filmmaker and be compassionate towards the real people that you are portraying in the film. I think a key word here is compassion. A key word here is responsibility, because these people give you the keys to document their stories in a medium they don't know how to document themselves through. Maybe they can talk, maybe they can appear in interviews, maybe they can write their stories on social media, maybe they can use word of mouth, but they definitely can't use the filmmaking medium directly, which is a medium that would reach more people and get people talking more and more. So basically they are giving you, we say the word amane in Arabic. So they give you that story, and it's up to you to tell this story with as much honesty as you can, in a way that does not make the person feel that you betrayed their trust. At the same time, you need to remember, as a filmmaker, you work in a filmmaking industry. And at the end of the day, you're not making the film so that the person you're talking about or the family of that person is watching. You're making this film so that the world would watch. And there are like lots of things you need to put in mind. And it's so hard to talk about these things when you're talking about a film like The Voice of Hind Rajab, because I'm certain that the director did not really have the money that this film will make in mind, because I feel like what she was thinking about is the impact of this film. Yet, as filmmakers, we are always reminded that we are part of an industry, and you need to do certain things so that your film would get enrolled in certain festivals and it would get the same amount of money that was spent on it and more. So it's always this balance between creating art, being human in your storytelling, and putting in mind that this is a business that you might be living from, and you need to give back to the people that helped you create this film. So it's like a triangle that you should always put in mind. But in a film like The Voice in Hind Rajab, I feel like it was less about the commercial aspects and more about what it is, and so that the voice of Hind Rajab would be listened to more all around the world.
This has been extremely insightful. Thank you, Zaid. Nisreen, what do you think needs to change to better support the mental health of civilians impacted by war?
Yeah, the double standard of the word. What they are doing, Ukraine, if they allowed it to be done for people in Gaza, in West Bank, in Palestine, then we don't need more. I'm aware of how many projects and how many agents and how many psychologists and psychiatrists are trained and work in Ukraine since the start of the war. And I'm comparing that to what's happening in Gaza. We are well trained, we have our tools, we know what to do, but we are not allowed to do it.
As someone who hopes to work in the humanitarian sector one day, what would you say to someone considering the path? Does the work feel sustainable and meaningful in the long run?
Oh, it is the most meaningful job in the whole world, especially if you are working in a struggle area. Not even the thank you by the word, the gesture, the look, the way that people look at you when you give them the service is more than enough for you to keep going. What keeps me, for example, with PRCS, after all what I have passed through, a big part of my job, I look at it as giving back to Palestine. It's very satisfying.
Do you think that the benefits outweigh the effort that's been put to help civilians?
Yes, I do believe that. PRCS made all the difference with other NGOs and international NGOs because it's a national society and is able to do more. We saw the difference. We see the difference on daily basis, the impact of our work on people, whether it was on the psychological side or on the health side or on rehabilitation.
And Nisreen, before we go, where can people follow your work or support mental health efforts?
The website of PRCS is available to everybody. All other social medias, Facebook, it's always Palestine Red Crescent Society, Instagram, LinkedIn. A direct support will be by sending an email to info@Palestine Red Crescent Society, and it will be handled from there. We don't leave any message behind. And on the website for donation, if anybody would like to give donation, you can find all the info there also.
It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much, Nisreen and Zaid.
Thank you, Tala.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for our listeners for joining us. This episode was produced and distributed by Studio 8 for art production and distribution, recording and sound design by George Elwer. I'm your host, Tala Murrar. See you in the next one.